You did it. You followed the rules. You spent 2 decades climbing a ladder that someone else built, and you finally reached the top. You have the title, the salary, the respect of people you don't even like. But here's the thing. You wake up at 3 a.m. with a feeling in your chest that feels less like success and more like a slow-motion panic attack. You tell yourself it is just the stress, that this is what success feels like. You tell yourself that the exhaustion is a badge of honor, a price you pay for the life you have built. But let us be honest, you are not tired from the work. You are tired from the performance. You are exhausted from pretending that the thing you spent 20 years chasing is actually what you wanted. Most people will tell you that you are just burnt out. They will suggest a vacation, a new mindfulness app, or maybe a slightly different role in a different department. They treat the symptom because the alternative is too terrifying to acknowledge. The alternative is that you are not burnt out. Trapped. This is not a failure of your willpower. It is not because you did not work hard enough or because you lacked a better time management system. No. You are feeling this way because the system worked exactly as it was designed to. The corporate ladder was never a path to freedom. It was a mechanism for conversion. Think about the promise they made you 20 years ago. Work hard, be essential, take on the responsibility that others are too afraid to touch, and eventually you will reach a place of stability and autonomy. You were told that the struggle was temporary and the reward was a life where you finally owned your time. But look around. Do you actually own your time, or do you just have a higher price tag on it? Truth is that the higher you climb, the more the ladder becomes a cage. As your salary increases, so does the cost of your existence. Your lifestyle expands to fill the gap, your obligations multiply, and suddenly, you are not a leader. You are a hostage. You are now the primary engine for a machine that does not care if you break, as long as you keep producing. Now, let's talk about the most dangerous word in your performance review. Essential. When your boss tells you that you're essential to the team, they aren't complimenting your value. They're describing your cage. They've encouraged you to specialize in a process, a software, or a corporate culture that exists nowhere else on earth but in this specific office. And here is where the financial engineering kicks in. Because you're so specialized, you're hard to replace. So they give you a raise. Not because they love you, but because it's cheaper to pay you 20% more than it is to find and train someone else to navigate this nightmare of a system. It's not a reward. It's a retention payment for your captivity. Now you've got the salary, the big one, the one that lets you buy the house in the zip code that requires a 40-minute commute and the car that makes you look like you've actually made it. You're not just earning a living anymore. You're funding a lifestyle that requires the very salary that's killing you. This is the birth of the golden handcuffs. You see your monthly expenses and you realize that quitting isn't just a career move. It's a financial suicide mission. You can't afford to leave, not because you love the job, but because you've optimized your entire life around a paycheck that demands your soul in exchange. And let's not forget the breadwinner's burden. This is the systemic tool used to ensure you stay compliant. They know you have a mortgage. They know you have kids in private school. They know you're the one the whole family depends on. In the corporate world, your love for your family is used as a leverage point to make you accept the unacceptably. Suddenly, the toxic boss isn't a problem to be solved. He's a weather pattern you just have to endure. The 80-hour work week isn't an abuse of power. It's the price of the health insurance. You've been conditioned to believe that your suffering is an act of love for your family, when in reality, it's just a convenience for the shareholders. Think about the math. The more you succeed, the more your cost of living rises to match your status. This is called lifestyle inflation, but let's call it what it actually is, a leash. The system ensures that as your pay goes up, your freedom goes down. You're running faster and faster just to stay in the same place. Look, you might think, but I have a 401k. I'm building a nest egg. Great, a nest egg that you can't touch for 30 years without a massive penalty. You're trading the only finite resource you actually have, your time and your health, for a promise of comfort when you're too old to enjoy it. It's a scam. It's the ultimate deferred gratification trap. And then there's the prestige, the title. Senior Vice President of something. The title is the psychological glue that keeps the handcuffs tight. You start to identify with the label. You aren't just a person anymore, you're a leader. And leaders don't quit. Leaders persevere. Leaders grind. You're using your own ego to justify your own exhaustion. But let's look at the actual utility of that prestige. Outside the company, that title means almost nothing. Inside, it just means you're the one responsible for the failures of the people above you. You climb the ladder only to find out that the top rung is just a different kind of stress, with a slightly better view of the cliff you're standing on. The systemic goal here is simple. Create a workforce that is too tired to think, too indebted to leave, and too proud to admit they're miserable. If you're spending all your mental energy managing your stress and your mortgage, you don't have any energy left to ask why the system is designed this way in the first place. They call it career growth. I call it a slow motion capture. Every promotion is just another layer of obligations. More meetings, more emails, more strategic alignment. You're not growing, you're just expanding the surface area that the company can use to drain you. And the most insidious part? They make you feel guilty for wanting out. They tell you that you're unstable or that you've lost your drive. They frame your desire for freedom as a personal failure of ambition. They've redefined ambition as the willingness to be exploited for a slightly larger number in a bank account. So you stay, you take the pills, you go on the 2-week vacation once a year where you spend half the time checking your email because the essential nature of your role means the place will burn down without you. You become a hostage to your own success. You're not a professional. You're a high-functioning casualty. And the worst part is, you're surrounded by other high-functioning casualties, all of you pretending that this is what winning looks like. It's a masquerade ball where everyone is wearing a mask of competence while they're bleeding out internally. But here is where it gets actually dark. You spent years becoming essential. You are the only one who knows how the legacy system works. You are the go-to person for every fire. You think that makes you safe. You think that makes you powerful. But in the eyes of the system, being essential just means you are too useful to promote and too exhausted to leave. Think about it. If you are the only one who can fix the problem, the company has zero incentive to let you move up or move out. Why would they promote the only person who knows where the bodies are buried? By becoming indispensable, you didn't build a fortress. You built your own cage. And they are more than happy to let you stay in it as long as the machine keeps humming. And then there is the breadwinner's burden. The mortgage, the kids' tuition, the lifestyle you adopted to signal your success. It feels like a personal responsibility. It feels like love. But from a systemic perspective, it is the ultimate compliance tool. A person with a low cost of living is a threat because they can walk away. A person with a massive mortgage is a loyal soldier. The system doesn't just pay you a high salary to reward your talent, it pays you just enough to make the cost of quitting unthinkable. These are the golden handcuffs. They are not designed to make you happy. They are designed to make you terrified of a 30% pay cut, even if that pay cut buys back your soul. So, let us be very clear about what is happening here. Your exhaustion is not a glitch. It is not because you lack resilience or because you need a better time management app. Your exhaustion is a feature of the design. A tired worker is a compliant worker. An exhausted person doesn't have the energy to question why they are doing this in the first place. They want you just stressed enough to be desperate for the next bonus, but just functional enough to keep the department running. It is a perfect equilibrium of misery. You are kept in a state of permanent low-grade panic, which makes you easier to manage and far less likely to realize that the ladder you are climbing is leaning against a wall that is slowly crumbling. When you realize that your professional identity has been engineered to serve a corporate balance sheet, the feeling is nauseating. You realize that the successes you were chasing was actually just a set of criteria designed to make you a more efficient tool. You didn't win the game. You just became the most expensive piece on the board. The realization is this: the system does not want you to be successful. It wants you to be dependent. And for 20 years, you have been diligently building the infrastructure of your own dependency. Now, the only question that matters is, what happens when you stop pretending that the handcuffs are jewelry? Look, I'm not going to tell you to quit your job tomorrow and start a pottery studio in Vermont. That's a fantasy for people who don't have mortgages or kids. I'm not interested in selling you a dream because dreams are usually just another form of distraction. What I'm telling you is that the exhaustion you feel isn't a bug in your personality, it's a feature of your environment. The first step isn't a leap of faith, it's a realization. You have to stop viewing your salary as a reward for your hard work and start seeing it for what it actually is, a maintenance fee for your compliance. Once you stop valuing the prestige of the title, the handcuffs start to feel a lot looser. Because prestige is just a word corporations use to pay you an ego instead of freedom. So, what do you actually do? You start decoupling your identity from your utility, you stop being the guy who fixes the legacy system, and start being a person who happens to know how to fix a legacy system. The moment you stop defining yourself by how useful you are to a company that would replace you in a week if you drop dead, you stop giving them power over your mental health. You start building an exit ramp, not necessarily a business, but a life that doesn't require the maximum possible salary to function. Every luxury you buy to reward yourself for a miserable week at work is just another link in the chain. You're literally paying for your own prison cell with the money they give you to stay in it. It's a closed loop. Break the loop. And for the love of God, stop asking for more responsibility. In the corporate world, more responsibilities is just code for more stress for a marginal increase in pay. They'll give you a 10% raise and 40% more anxiety, and they'll call it a promotion. Stop buying the lie. The top of the ladder isn't a view, it's just a higher place to fall from. The goal isn't to win the game. The goal is to realize the game is rigged and stop playing it by their rules. You don't need to be essential to be valuable. You just need to be autonomous. Because the only real success is the ability to walk away from a table where respect is no longer being served. Hey, now, let's go back to that 3 a.m. feeling. The heart racing, the ceiling staring back at you, the crushing weight of everything you've achieved feeling like a mountain on your chest. That feeling isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're finally waking up. It's your brain telling you that the cost of your success has become higher than the value of the reward. That panic is actually the most honest thing in your life. It's the only part of your day that isn't filtered through a performance review or a corporate KPI. Listen to it. Stop trying to medicate it away or bury it under another promotion. That panic is the only thing that can actually save you from a life spent as a high-functioning ghost. You've spent 20 years climbing. You've done everything right. You've checked every box, and you're exhausted. Good. Be exhausted. Let that exhaustion be the fuel that makes you stop climbing. Because the view from the bottom, where you actually own your time, is a hell of a lot better than the view from a corner office you hate. You're not stuck. You're just heavily invested in a lie. And the best thing about lies is that once you see them for what they are, they lose all their power. So, take a breath. Stop the grind. And for once in your professional life, just stop. And that is the trap. You are a high-performing, highly compensated, completely exhausted shell of a person. But here's the thing. The system does not want you to be happy. It just wants you to be functional enough to not quit. It wants you in that sweet spot of misery where you are too tired to plan an escape, but just enough of a professional to keep the machine running.